So you're swimming at around about 1:24:25 on the first part, and the second part swimming more like 1:16, 1:17, which is the fastest we saw anyone swimming today. The difference in the stroke rate, 46 strokes per minute here. It's a very, very smooth stroke. Beautiful head position. Look at the bow wave. Anyone see that? Look at that, awesome. Really getting that nice, easy breathing into the side. Good clearance of the hand, so even though you have the classic high elbow recovery here, the hands are clearing the surface of the water quite nicely. Do you ever swim open water, actually?
Just in lakes.
Just in lakes, yeah. So when it's very, very flat, yeah. Never done an ocean swim?
Never want to.
Never want to? Okay. Because of the sharks, or? Sharks, yeah, okay, yeah. Definitely don't come to Perth then. But yeah, so we've got that nice position over the top of the water. It looks relaxed, looks easy in the shoulders. Let's go underneath the water. Again, like Shorky, one of the good things here, slight lift up there. Did you see that? So just watch that stroke again. On the most part, this arm is in a very, very good position. Fingertips is the deepest point. When we go to take a breath, watch. That hand comes in, just flicks up momentarily. Palm and hand turned out, just pushing against the water there a little bit. So a really good drill. Have you ever tried that Unco drill that I showed? No. So Unco would be perfect because you're only doing that when you're going to take a breath. And the Unco drill itself is specifically focused on what's happening when somebody goes to take a breath to the side. So that's this drill here, look. So if you had this paddle on your hand and you were trying to breathe to the side, you'd almost be incapable of actually applying the brakes you're doing there because you'd simply slow down and feel uncoordinated, which is why the drill gets its name. The crazy irony with that particular drill is when you get it right, it should feel very, very coordinated indeed. Now, let's watch it a little bit further along. Now, what you might find is very, very surprising. Very, very little exhalation underneath the water. Very little, very little. Look. So, very little, yeah. I thought that might surprise you. Look, so underneath the water here, look. And then just before you go to take that next breath in, very surprising. Now, it's seemingly very surprising, but you know, when I look at different swimmers, we had a guy came on a course, one of the elite triathletes in Perth, and I was running a coach's course at the time, and they sent this guy and said, try and analyse him then, Paul, and he looked perfect from everything but below the water, holding on to his breath, and that's all we worked on was exhalation, even though he's an elite athlete underneath the water, and it made a surprising difference. So looking at the clock here, we start to blow out 0.77, and then the mouth is out of the water a quarter of a second later. So you're exhaling for only a quarter of a second before you then suck in the air back into the side. Interesting enough, you didn't do that when you were swimming with your more normal style. So what we tend to see with overgliders, and again it might sound like a bit of a sweeping statement, but I mentioned it with David there, is it almost looks like you're thinking about what you're going to do. And whenever I see an overglider underneath the water, always they've got the breath holding onto the water. All the demonstrations that I've ever seen online, the swimmers are actually holding onto the breath underneath the water, even Shinji, and whenever I've seen them just holding onto the breath. So it's one of those things where if you could actually exhale just a little bit sooner, look at that on the side again, look. Tiny, tiny little bubble from the nose. And then just before we take the next breath in, look, a nice clear exhalation. So when you're swimming at slower rates as well, 46 here, there's a danger that the body will be lifted too high at the front and will ultimately start sinking down at the back. Now, you're obviously a brilliant swimmer in the water, so that's not going to affect you as much as most overgliders you'd find, but it is something that needs to be watched out for. We can see from this angle, very nice catch and pull through. Let's just try and get a slightly squarer shot of this, look. So from the top, this is an interesting phenomenon actually, what we see here, like. See how this left hand comes in, and then the hand itself actually turns slightly out. When you're trying to ID a true smooth, have a look from the top, looking straight down, and you often see that hand coming in, and then just turning out ever so slightly in an effort to try to get some length within the stroke. What a true smooth would do is they wouldn't leave out the hand out there too long and actually catch up. But in this video clip you are doing, the big thing that changed, in fact let's just do literally a side-by-side comparison between you before and after. Watch the difference here. So this is you in the after shot, just about to set off. It's more rhythmical, way more rhythmical, 60 strokes per minute. But if you take a look from the top watch, you're actively pulling through with this right arm before the left hand actually catches it up. That's the difference. In your mindset as well, yeah. So you're trying to patiently leave the hand out in front of the head. Again, on this side, look, that arm is actively doing something to propel yourself forwards. It's the reason why you're swimming about 10 seconds per 100 metres quicker. Now, you did mention at the end, you said it's not sustainable, or not as sustainable, but I'm wondering if that's partly because you spend a lot of time over the last few years pausing out.
And the kick as well.
And the kick as well, yeah.
Maybe I could have that rate with the 2-bit kick.
Yeah, and you're skilled enough to do that. That's the ultimate solution. That's why I'd like you to do the ramp test tomorrow, because again, I think we'll get the same response to what we saw with Telly. Telly got more and more efficient as the stroke rate came up more and more, up until the point where she said that it started to feel like she's working quite hard. But at that point, she was still swimming with a 6-beat leg kick. So what we did was, I then said, let's go up a little bit higher, but go with a 2-beat. And you know how to do that, you can do that. If you combine that with a slightly quicker tempo, it'll feel significantly better and you'll be swimming faster. That's the secret, okay? So, can everyone see that difference? Because it's quite an important one to point out. If we're swim type IDing the stroke on the left, definitely say overglider, because the left hand stays out there too long. The stroke rate is very slow. Something within the stroke is not working quite so well in that you're actually stalled in that position. Here, you're still totally front quadrant, so you still fit that mark, but it's altogether more rhythmical. It's a much more effective stroke, but of course you are doing the 6-beat kick here. Now, interestingly enough, when you jumped in, Adam says, what do you reckon? You reckon swinger or smooth? Both of us, and I've been thinking this for ages, just seeing stuff on your website and all that, I actually think you're a hidden swinger. Anyone know why I might be thinking that, but above and beyond talking about timing of the stroke? Who's been doing that homework? What do swingers like to wear? Bright costumes. They're very extrovert, very outgoing with their. And if you look at your,
That's why I asked. You said something about my hair.
Yeah.
The pink.
Absolutely, yeah. And the left zebra and
The pink bag.
and the pink bag, yeah. Just a small observation, something to watch for though. Yeah.
She's kicking from the hips.
Yes.
And now I see that
Little bit more so from the. I mean, it's not. That's still what she's doing there. Is still well within the boundary of. You notice the knee. The knee never drops below. It never drops. It's a little bit more bent, but it never drops below the level of the pelvis and the chest there. So it's not excessive by any stretch of the imagination. But here, look, take a breath to the side. So this is on the good one, but we've still got that little bit of a push down. Look at that. It's almost like you're aware that you're doing it. Look, so you're here. Very subtle tip down of the fingertips at the front, and then bang into that beautiful catch and pull through position.
You are being very finicky, Mr. Newton.
What's that with that, with the front?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Well, it's, but you can see again on that side as well. Yeah. So the right hand sort of tips up at the front there. So the Unco drill would be the perfect drill. The nice thing about the Unco drill is it tends to work really well with 2-beat leg kick as well. So it helps to actually tune the two things up together. So that'd be a good drill sequence for you to do. So just going back to this one here though, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing in that video clip. It's obviously a lot more stable than most overgliders that we see. But I think you're swimming, and with all due respect, I think you're swimming quite slowly here for your ability level as an athlete, from where you've achieved within the sport, etc. And the hand at that position, it doesn't stall as much as Scott the overglider, 33 strokes per minute. And it looks very, very graceful. And this is the nice thing that I was expecting, because I've seen this. John sent me through that video clip. I was expecting total thumb first entry on the water, but it's not. It's picture perfect going into the water there, fingertips first, which is very, very good. Nice head position, very good hand entry into the water. So it just needs a little bit of tuning up, I think, with the timing at the front end of the stroke. And I think if you have a little go with the tempo trainer, slightly higher tempo. Try to combine it with the 2 beat leg kick. I think you'll find it you're like, oh, okay, that's what it should work like for.
Every practice I do with the tempo trainer.
Yes, on the stroke rate, yeah.
To keep the rhythm going and the focus,
Mm.
calm, everything.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
love it.
You love it, yeah. Have you ever used it for working on time per lap as opposed to stroke rate?
No.
So let's say to me, Janet Evans last year or 2012 made a comeback.
Yeah.
She wanted to get back into the US team and qualify to go to the Olympics. She didn't make it, unfortunately, but got very, very close. If you said, okay, look, I want to make a comeback, and get back on the Swedish team, want to make a comeback for the Olympics or what have you. One of the things that we'd be looking at here is the tempo for stroke rate is very good in terms of maybe making some of these adjustments to the timing, rhythm, and the stroke. But if I said to you, okay, let's do that CSS test tomorrow, and it works out at, let's say, it works out at 120 per 100 meters. If you knew that you needed to get down to, let's say, 105 per 100 meters, we can use the beeper set per 25 meters as opposed to per stroke. I could say to you, okay, 120 per 100 is 20 seconds per 25. I could set the beeper to beep at you every 20 seconds. All you've got to do is actually make sure you're turning every time the beep goes. And then what you do is then next week you make it a little bit quicker, and next week a little bit quicker. So as your fitness and your technique all starts to develop together, you start to make this improvement in that threshold pace, and you bring it down. Now, improving threshold pace is only really going to benefit you if you're racing distances of 400 metres and above. So I'm assuming you're saying, I want to make a comeback, I want to get on the Swedish team for 400, 800, or dare I even say open water swimming. If you're talking more about sprinting, then obviously the type of stuff that you would have done as a junior, as a kid, the sort of big explosive stuff would need to be looked at a little bit more. But that's how I'd like to show you tomorrow how to actually utilise show you all tomorrow how to utilise that tempo trainer in a different respect rather than just on stroke rate.
And we do this in every session or one session per week?
The CSS type, I'm going to talk to you tomorrow about how to actually structure it within a week for your athletes or for yourselves, etc. But I have one session per week where I always use the tempo trainer in that respect, and I use it as my gauge. It's like my test set per week. It's not a time trial, but I use it each week. If I can stay with the beeper for the entire set, and the following week I make it a little bit quicker, and the following week a little bit quicker, and slowly and surely I'm chasing the speed to try and actually make the improvements, and it makes a big difference over time.
I mean, the tempo training gives me the purpose training.
Yes.
Before, a long time ago, I didn't have that purpose.
Yeah.
Just swim.
Yes, absolutely. Just get in there and swim. Yeah. So, like you say, it's a very calming thing. Very, very good for that. But I'd love to get you crank you up a little bit higher and see how you go with it. Like I say, the perception will be that the stroke will fall apart, but as you can see here, it actually looks better because it's just got a little bit more of that rhythm to it. It's still totally front quadrant. I classify you here as smooth. And it looks great. It looks like Rebecca Adlington, doesn't it? It looks very, very similar to Rebecca Adlington. Now in that video clip, Rebecca Adlington's 68 strokes per minute. She races at 86 strokes per minute, but she's still a smooth. She's not a swinger, she's a smooth. She said, funny enough, when I asked her about open water swimming, she gave me the exact same response as yourself. She turned up her nose and said no, because of the sharks. She's absolutely petrified of sharks as well. Just a little bit late on that exhalation, even there actually. Okay, cool. When was the last time you had it analysed?
2012.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, yeah.